by the Greater Westfield Chamber of Commerce, the voice of business for the Greater Westfield communities. Informing, educating, advocating, the Chamber provides opportunities for members to make meaningful connections on local, regional, and state levels. For more information on the Chamber's many events, workshops, and programs, as well as the benefits of membership, visit westfieldbiz.org. The Chamber focuses on the most important economy, yours.
Join us every Thursday morning
from 6 until at least 7:30.
Check out the Bobby G and Company Show
right here on WSKB 89.5
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Pete.
Good morning.
How have you been?
Just got back from Pigeon Forge, Tennessee.
Oh, isn't that where, was that Dollywood? Or?
Correct.
Yes. Yep. Is it still there?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Still going strong.
Interesting.
We never made it to Dollywood because that's like a theme park, but they have a strip similar to the Nashville Broadway strip in Pigeon Forge, and then Gatlinburg, which is a companion town about 10 minutes away through the Great Smoky Mountains National Park.
That was a big Civil War battlefield area.
Gatlinburg, I think so, yeah. But it's almost like if you walk it now, it's sandwiched between the hill and the river. So it's almost like a European town, like a walking town with everything just kind of sandwiched in there.
Just a strip.
Yes. And it's touristy, but it's nice.
Excellent.
Had a good time. Stayed in a cabin up on a hill.
This summer I've done nothing.
That's not a bad thing either.
Nothing but work and be a select board member, and so
that makes you busy enough.
So here we are today. It was actually supposed to be Doug's day, or Doug's month, but he gave me a call. What did he reach out to us or me is it yesterday? No, day before yesterday.
Well, but yeah, because I
was supposed to be last month, but
right.
I couldn't make it, and then I know you were doing the thing, so I didn't even really bother trying to catch up with you because we were talking about your World Series thing that you do every year. And then I know you and Ken do some traveling, and I see Ken's on Facebook all the time. I think he's in Vegas again. I'm not sure.
Ken's in Vegas, yeah. We had it for the first time ever. We were both away for 2 days. Like, I went Tuesday to Tuesday because the flights are cheaper on Tuesday.
Yep.
To Nashville, so so he left on Sunday. So Monday and Tuesday were like there was nobody here to run the studio.
Yeah,
for the first time in a long time.
That's kind of that's you guys were kind of Ken's got the different hours, so that's why like I said last month, and really summer's just tough sometimes for everybody. So like I said, I didn't do much traveling, but I had a bunch of running around. I've got a lot of stuff personally going on, and the select board, especially now that I'm the chairman. That is...
How'd you get roped into that deal?
Well, basically, the way the Southwick Select Board does it is pretty much your last year of your term.
Oh, okay.
They vote you in.
Traditionally?
Traditionally, yep. Apparently I wasn't
You weren't fast enough to get away.
Yeah, I didn't learn. I learned now, So
Well,
if
you know
I run
what?
next year and I'm reelected, I'm like, maybe when it comes that time again, I'll be like, nah, I don't want it.
It's a serious education.
That it is. And before I get any farther, I know we have our new CAO with us, Nicole Parker. She's not
Good
that
morning.
new anymore.
Nope, I just had my 3-month anniversary yesterday.
So it's been very, very interesting for her, I'm sure. She came from Hardwick of 4,000 people, and lives in
Bit of a
Buffalo
different
and
animal.
Very different animal.
The other wick of the state.
So yeah, I think is that the only other one?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I think,
did not know
it
that.
sounds right. Yeah.
Wow. So
Lucky
the
me.
other wick. Yeah. So I'm gonna from now on, unfortunately for Nicole, well, I'm still around anyways. I'm gonna start dragging her with me, and we're gonna talk about what's going on in town. There's a lot of stuff starting to swirl. I mean, we're a couple months into 3 months into the new July, August. Yeah, 3 months into the new fiscal year. We're in that, I wouldn't call it the lull, but we're in that calm before the storm.
Before the snow starts.
Snow.
Budget season.
Budget season. Yeah, that's a
Favorite time of the year.
That's a season I've learned to. I wouldn't say not look forward to, but a season that I realize I'm going to be.
Necessary evil.
Yeah, very busy. It's been great. So, as I mentioned, I'm in my 3rd year, which is the last year of my term. People have been asking, am I going to run again? I'm going to leave everybody in suspense. So,
Well, make sure you announce it on the show. We like scoops around here.
well, let's see. We're September, October, November. We might be closing in. I might wait till after the holidays. That'll be my big gift to everybody. So, people ask, and I'm 75% leaning yes. It's been a very enlightening and enjoyable experience, and actually rewarding. I think I'd mentioned to you, Pete, numerous times that it's I've been in public service my entire life. When you were
running, and we did that interview with you in here.
Yep.
And then you and I sat down and talked, and I said, "Are you sure you know what you're getting into?"
No, I didn't.
Because I've been, because of where I'm at in the office that I'm working out of, you have to be politically aware, which you're kind of insulated when you work in the police department. You're somewhat insulated when I worked in the technology department, but when you're in the mayor's office, it's just that's part of the game. It's just part of the animal. And so I learned a lot about municipal politics, and I'm like, you and I had a chat. I'm like, are you sure you know what you're getting into? And I kind of gave you at least a skinny from what I've observed, and then said, okay, now make your decisions from there, and and I was pretty unvarnished.
No, yeah, you were you are kind of like me. There's several of us that are straight to the point, and I remember coming back after election and saying, no, I had no idea what I was getting into. People look at it, you see it and you see the meetings and you see the the public functions and stuff like that, but you never really see the behind the scenes, and especially as chairman, you're responsible for setting the agenda. You're responsible for signing off on a lot of the paperwork. And I tell you what, there's a lot of extra time at town hall.
Yeah,
Nicole sees me way too much.
No, not at all.
But so yeah, that's
So
where we're
Nicole,
at.
how are you settling in?
Very well, very well. I was starting to get a little bit offended on the public service factor here. It's my passion and my career. It's not a bad thing. It's the least we can do, right? In our Commonwealth here is give our time to our community.
Yeah, it's been interesting for me because I've been in the municipal environment almost half of my working career now. So I've been half in the private and half in the public. And they're two completely different things. And if you're working in the private sector, you have no idea how different it is in the public sector.
Very true.
Even just to buy a pen.
Very true. Yep.
There's a couple of times, more often than not, where if I need something small, like a couple of pens,
Go buy it yourself.
I just go buy them. Yeah, right. Just go buy them myself.
Drag it from home.
Right.
So
People don't understand the municipal purchasing rules and things like that, and and just what you have to go through to run a town. or
Yeah,
a
you're
city.
using public money. You have to be responsible with it.
Yep.
Right. Yeah, you have to think, and you also have to. You're highly accountable because in the past there have been shenanigans. So,
So that's why the Commonwealth is
Right.
as tight as it is now, thanks to the big dig and those other issues back in the day. Yeah.
Yep.
Now we're much more responsible with our public funds.
Well, and it's spelled out by law. you know,
Right.
before where it's like, well, the best nature of people. Now it's here's the black and white of it, and you have to follow these purchasing rules.
That's
and
right.
It took me a long time because in the police department I never had to understand the purchasing part of it. In the technology department I had to understand a little bit of it, but I wasn't doing the purchasing. And now being a kind of a department of one, I understand all of the purchasing, and it was a serious learning curve to get used to that.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a lot of hours and days of training to become that certified public procurement officer.
Is it
you know,
MCPPO?
MCPPO, yep. It's a program in Massachusetts, and it's very involved. So you know what you're doing. You know, as humans, we tend to bend the rules a little bit here and there. So luckily we have these very strict, stringent rules for us to follow, so nobody has to guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
That's what's been great with Carl prior to Nicole, and Nicole. As you know, and I always joke about, I dove into this political pool head first with no water in it. I went right for it.
Into the deep end.
Yeah, right in the deep end. So I went in there, compared to, I know Doug talks a lot about it. I mean, he had 9, 10, 15 years on the planning board. Carl was there for 34 years.
Yeah.
Before me, Mr. Fox, who was on when I got on, he's 40 something years off and on of different town government entities. Mr. Didi, when he came back to Southwick and he started the farm, he got involved in the planning board, and then he got on the select board. So, it's been, I'm learning every day, and what's great is I have people like Nicole around me that, are guiding me. And, and after 3 years, I'm finally in a position where I'm comfortable. I still half the time don't know what I'm doing.
As long as you have people around you that do.
That's right. That's why we have people around me.
And you had Carl. I mean, he, in my industry,
he was like the
administration,
man, wasn't he?
He's the OG. He's somebody that we all have looked up to.
Well, I remember going to the last 2 MMA conferences, and I don't think we walked by anybody that was a town manager, administrator, or a longtime, governmental employee or politician that's like, oh, Carl, and everybody's like, when do you leave? And he's like, well, this is I'm wrapping it up. And you can tell Carl misses it because he reaches out to me every once in a while. We both had he had his rotator cuff done after he retired finally, or actually right at the end. I had mine done last year, and then ended up having to have this shoulder replaced just barely 2 months ago, because it didn't heal right. And so I still hear from Carl. I think I tell Carl, come on out. You're Southwick Senior Center. You're one of the seniors. He doesn't like that very much. So he's and he definitely doesn't act like a senior, never has. Not that there's anything wrong with acting like a senior.
No, we have a great senior center,
Well,
great senior center director.
Yeah, we got a brand new, brand new to that office, but not brand new to us. Lisa
sure.
Anderson. I begrudgingly voted to make her the new COA because
I was hoping you guys
losing
would
her,
vote that in.
that was there was too many. Right at the end, a lot of people pushing. We want Lisa. We
Oh,
want
for
Lisa."
sure. I mean, whatever she touches is gold. So
Yeah, absolutely.
she's doing a fantastic job down there.
And it's been interesting because here I am, my first term in, let's see, we've done a new town administrator, COA, a new police chief. We did a deputy chief early on in my tenure and my term.
Fire?
Fire chief was right before me.
Oh, he was?
Yeah, I had the deputy chief. The COA director, who am I missing? But it's been very interesting being involved in so many changes at the level that they're at.
Yeah.
You know, what's good, as Pete said, is my years of experience, whether it be with the federal government or municipal government. You know, because pretty much, like I said, I started in the military, came out, I was back in the private sector for a very, very short time. I started working for Department of Defense as a police officer, left there, went to Westfield as a police officer. I'm now in my 26th year with the Westfield PD. 26?
Thank you for your service.
Well, as I always tell everybody, I appreciate thanking me, just like with my military service, but I chose it, but I do appreciate that. So, you know, here I am, and like I said, it's been very rewarding. You know, it's more so than I thought, you know, and, you know, it's funny because people said to me, well, you realize no matter what you do, you're going to, 50% of the people are, and I've been very, very lucky, unless the people haven't been speaking out to me. I would say probably a little bit more have been positive than negative, which is a good thing. That's always difficult. You know, and for any politician, any person, when the decisions you make, when you think you're making the best decision for everybody, you know, you get, I hate to use the term crucified, but, you know, you basically get very, very, very well criticized, and
It's part of it.
Yep.
But
So-
you know,
Actually,
best foot
the more you get criticized, the more you know you're probably doing the right thing. Because if everybody's mad at you, it's probably the right thing for the town.
Well, I don't know about that, but
Yeah.
I've had the best experience with residents, staff, just everybody in town is so positive and welcoming, and there is a lot of change going on in town. You know, like you said, a lot of department staff is new or promoted. Breaking up the treasurer, collector, and clerk
Yep,
finally.
that's another one I
and
forgot, yep.
having, you know, the different department heads, moving people around,
Yep.
you know, moving the
Assessor's
town.
offices now.
Yep, and even the assistant CAO,
Yes, that's
who
right,
is now
Nadine
in
was-
the former selectmen's conference room,
Yep.
which I was on 2 months ago with Doug, and I had started to put a little bug in the ear going, you know, I think the room is definitely too small. We could really use the office space as we're moving all of these offices, and ultimately they did approve us to put
I
Nadine
wanted out
there.
of that office from the
So-
very
And
beginning.
that also came with a retrofit too of the land use room upstairs. too.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. Right. And now live streamed on Channel
Yep,
15
yep.
for the meetings.
Diane pushed
so-
for the live stream, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So you know, it's nice for me. I'm coming in, I'm new, and then so many others are also new. So it's sort of, you know, it wasn't just me. It was definitely a little bit apprehensive, you know, coming in after somebody for 35 years where I got, well, good luck to you, you know. Nobody's going to want change after 35 years, but it's been
I heard
great.
that too.
It's been great. It's been great. And again, with all the other changes too, it's just kind of been a natural succession. So I think we're doing fantastic.
I cannot, you know, one of the things I've said to Nicole is you know, we had two great candidates when it came down to the end. We had, you know, Randy Brown, who's our DPW water you know, he's the director of 2/3 of our departments in town. Maybe not 2/3, but quite a few.
Yeah, the largest for sure.
You know, and then we had Nicole, and, you know, she came in completely green to the town, and she's been great. You know, I can't complain about anything. You know, it's been very, as I said, my first time as chairman, there's a lot of stuff that, you know, I knew I set the agenda, but, you know, it's a lot of little things that I didn't know I could or couldn't do, you know, or, you know, that she's put me on the right path, and we kind of attack things together. You know, we've talked about some of my goals and stuff. We're kind of at the point now that we're done with, well, we're not done with host community agreements and
Yeah.
cannabis licenses and selecting shops, and the North, for this season, the North Pond fiasco is
Yeah,
calmed
we
down.
didn't talk about that at all with Doug. And when I came in July, you know, it hadn't really occurred.
Yeah, I can't,
It wasn't. I think it was
either right before, or I think it was right before it.
You know what? I don't know, but I know we didn't discuss it. So just if we want to bring people
Yeah,
up
I
to
mean,
speed on the North
we
Pond
started a task
Conservation
force,
area.
and Nicole, I don't know how, I feel so sorry for Nicole that she has to attend almost every meeting.
No,
But
it's
She
it's
loves
really
it.
what I live for.
She loves it.
When I said to my husband, there's a lot of meetings, he's like, and what's changed in the last, over a decade?
well,
This is what you
you're
do.
a little you're farther away than Hardwick.
I'm at only maybe 5 or 10 minutes. It's not that much further,
but you got a lot more traffic going this way, right? Compared to Hardwick.
it's highway versus
yeah.
back roads for sure.
So-
but luckily I don't follow a lot of buses and things like that, so that's good. But
Don't get me going.
yeah,
with the
so
buses being back out.
the task force was put together due to a lot of just really sad and illegal activity happening at the North Pond Conservation Area, and so we had to close it for a while, but.
Yep.
Just the degradation of the shoreline and the interior of the area, it was just being mistreated, and even boats pulling up and beaching there erodes the shoreline, and so we put a force together to kind of try to address that over the next couple of years, and so that on Monday the selectmen will formally have some recommendations and even some bylaw changes and new bylaws for us to be able to have some enforcement when it comes to, saving our conservation land, essentially.
Yeah.
So that'll be Monday for the selectmen to see. We've had a couple of meetings and done a lot of research, and Diane Gale, the vice chairman, has really done a lot of work, really headed that task force. So we're looking forward to not only disbanding the task force, but giving the suggestions to the selectmen to make the decisions on going forward on how to save our even just parks and conservation areas.
I mean, me and you just talked yesterday. You were showing me, I actually saw on Facebook people, because I pay attention to the forums. I try not to get involved in them, because then it just, it can be, things go bad, or things get taken out of context. Whether they had mentioned on the forums about people dropping trees at the Granville Gorge. And so Nicole showed me yesterday, I had heard about it, and she's like, look at these pictures, and people are literally cutting trees,
chopping them down.
like not little saplings. We're talking about actual
Yeah.
trees.
Some
First, we're like,
effort there.
is this a beaver?
That's what I was
and,
thinking.
And then I'm like, no, see the straight cuts and that's an axe or a hatchet, and people are literally dropping trees down. For what reason, I don't know.
No reason, and right onto the trail. So it's just very unfortunate, and that's
That's what we were doing with it in a different aspect.
And it's so unfortunate that this is what we have to deal with, but it is. So here we are facing it head on. I just wish people would really understand the importance of the nature and that we have, and the rural factor in the town, and really just respect our areas and go out and enjoy yourself. But please, carry in, carry out. No fighting, no chopping trees down.
Yeah.
I don't know why we have to say this to people, but yeah, so, that's unfortunate, but we do have some really pristine and lovely areas in town to be able to enjoy, as Southwick is, a recreational community, which does bring a lot of people in, and that's part of our economic development. So, we want to protect it, and then also protect our residents and our visitors. So.
Yep. Especially,
unfortunately, here comes some more rules and here comes some more
yeah,
signs.
everybody's like, and it's funny because we've talked about it, and so we also had the rope swings that we had to take down because the liability issue, and as someone who grew up in the area and in Southwick, or Granville, Southwick, Blandford, prior to going in the service, Westfield, and now I'm back full circle. I completely understand. I want people to know I never wanted to take away anybody's fun, but once a liability risk is identified, if we don't take care of it, it comes back on the town. And
sure.
And what people don't realize is, where do you think that money comes from?
Well, and it's like, you're just a fun killer. You just want to take away our fun in the summer. And of course that's not true. We want everybody to enjoy it, but responsibly, and having a rope swing where you're going to go out into 2 feet of water is very responsible. So
it was crazy to me.
We've got to protect. We have to protect the best interests of the town as well. And again, it's our responsibility to protect our residents and protect all of the visitors coming in. So, when it's dangerous, we have to take care of it.
That's why we did. What we did to see. 20 minutes after what happened at North Pond, I had people that lived in the area. It was as we all know, it wasn't a pretty scene, and it's just disappointing that people decided to completely disrespect the residents of the area as well as the area, and things that turned into what they did, because, we'd had problems since I first got on the select, even prior to it, with people, mostly trash and picking better places, and the fact that we didn't have anywhere for people to, like, for lack of a better term, relieve themselves. And people, like, that's what you said, they would pull up on the boats and they would, they'd work their way in. And a lot of people don't realize is they'll talk about, oh, it's Kings Beach, it was this. Well, it was back then, but when the town took it over, it was a little overgrown, and the agreement was, when the state got involved, because I even asked, is there any way we can buy the state out of their conservation restriction so we can have a little bit more control over it? But people don't realize that it's not, unfortunately, again, it's not what it was. It's a different time, so we have to protect that, and we have to follow the rules.
Yeah, and that's not a beach. So,
No,
and
it's
that's
not.
clear. There
Not
is a beach. We have a town beach.
Yeah.
Please come and enjoy. Where
We
there
have
are
one of the
lifeguards
best town beaches around.
and safety and food and all of the things that you need when you're going to the beach. And so that is there. But in the conservation area where it is, it does have some sandy shoreline where it would look like it would be a great beach, or look like you could beach it with your boat.
From what I
or
understand,
pull
it
up.
was back in the day when it was what it was. It was a great place, but it's not
Over
that anymore.
time,
Yeah.
that it's just not being respected anymore. But it is open, and it is for the passive recreation, and we want people to enjoy the land. Again, just have to do it responsibly. So I think we've come up with a lot of great suggestions for the select board on Monday.
I did see some of them. There's only one that I don't agree with.
Okay.
And we'll hear about it on
We'll
Monday.
hear about that on Monday.
Because we did talk about being a recreational community, that's when we get to that on Monday, when I focus on that one recommended thing, I'll explain why, and people will understand why, and there's a lot of people that probably are going to agree with me on this one. But whatever the rest of the board, as the majority decides, and then, planning board does as far as zoning bylaws and conservation rules with Concom, that's going to be up to everybody in a whole. My opinion is just that, and it's a voice, but it's only one voice out of many, including the residents. I'm gonna say I want to hear from the residents on these recommendations as well, because it's their property. That in the conservation restriction deed, it says that it's owned by the residents of Southwick.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, all the public land is, and and we had residents at the meetings where they were asked their input. So
Yeah, we had plenty of input.
At our task force meetings. So
Okay.
I think it's pretty well rounded. Of course, it's very in depth. So it's going. There's certainly going to be
It's a lot,
matters of opinion.
lot more
So-
complex than it looks just on the surface and saying,
Yeah.
we're going to close it, we're going to do this. There's a lot more involved. So let's see what else can we go to? So, we talked a little bit about Granville Gorge. Unfortunately, they're dealing with a little bit of, we are dealing with a little bit of stuff similar to that. I know a couple people have come to me. Most recently, we just did our roads tour back in June, July. We picked out our areas. For everybody that's been asking about Feeding Hills Road, we're just waiting on Palmer Paving to basically show up.
Yes, hopefully, by the time, for the most part, the asphalt companies are pretty much shut down by November 15th. But really hoping that will start within the next month or so.
Yeah, it's funny because literally I was driving down it and I'm like, I gotta, and I believe, and as chairman, I get to see a lot of the paperwork, and I just saw.
Yes, you do.
And signed the Palmer Paving sign off, so I'm hoping that's going to come sooner rather than later. Because that's a big one. It's 57. So that's our main east-west route through the town of Southwick. Excuse me. And that's been in rough shape for well over a year because of the work that's been being done on it, and just unfortunately with the crazy storms that we get, these 100-year storms that we're now getting every
year.
5, 10, 15, like you said, even in some cases every year. I know just down the road, Simsbury dealt with it last year. They had microbursts this year with all sorts of stuff down. East Granby, is it East Granby or Granby? There was a house completely destroyed, just by a microburst. So, we got to deal with those things as well. So
And when it comes to doing the roads, It is hard, because when you get in there, you want to also do, clean up all the infrastructure. So you want to put you want to put new utilities in there. We don't want to redo a road and then 5 minutes later have to fix a water line or a sewer line, et cetera. So that takes a lot of planning and work and money, as we were talking about public money here. So, it's very expensive. Massachusetts is very expensive to do public work.
Prevailing
So, it is a little difficult, but Randy does a phenomenal job. Definitely one of the best DPW directors I've ever seen. I think he's extremely valuable. He just knows so much about, like you said, all of the different facets of the department. Wastewater to water to...
With the water, I mean, we're dealing with it right now, and fortunately, not as much as we have in the past, the water restrictions,
Yeah.
So
that's unfortunate. And we just have a new ban, recently. But
we have had a dry spell, finally.
We have.
We were very fortunate. Most of the summer, there wasn't a ban, so people actually got to water their lawns, and it was very, last year it was very, very restrictive. It's interesting, because I'm like, I asked Randy, I go, because we buy some of our water from Springfield Water. I said, I did a lot of research on this because people were asking. And, if we drew specifically from a surface-based water source, the restrictions are completely different. But because we draw from an aquifer that's in a defined region that's regulated by the flow of the Westfield River, what the flow is.
That's right.
And unfortunately, what a lot of people forget is that that's controlled. They're Littleville and Knightville dams, so there is some control on the flow there. So it's because people have said, well, we're not really in a drought, and I understand that, but we have regulations that we were one of the few towns that when the process started to change, we got ahead of the power curve, in lack of a better term, and unfortunately, it kind of is in a way a negative. When it comes to the water restriction, because now we're here and everybody else, because that's the first thing people point to. Well, West Springfield draws from our aquifer, and I completely understand that, but it.
Well,
so
it's
much.
The rules and
exactly.
It's the permit.
It's the rules. Yep.
And as a matter of fact, when I had spoken to Randy about whether or not, is there anything I can do to get either us out of the permit or, at least make it fair for the region, for the most part, it was DEP was just not really focused on enforcing this part of the region and the permits that are necessary. However,
we're Western Mass. We don't matter to Boston.
Well, recently that's changed, and so you're going to see a lot more towns with water restrictions because the focus has gone back to that. They went off, and it was PFAS, and it was the different immediate dangers and that they're just really realizing, and so they kind of left this by the wayside for about 10 years. It was 2014 when the last permit was issued. So, unfortunately, but fortunately, we're going to save our aquifer and we're going to, conserve the water. But then it's the inconvenience, whether or not you want to water your lawn or fill your pool, et cetera. It is what it is. And other towns are going to feel it too. So other towns in this region within this aquifer are going to start feeling these
I think that's the one
restrictions.
thing, honestly, the one thing that will benefit me as a local politician and representative of the people of town will be able, because that's one of the things, well, nobody else is doing it. So, that's the one thing.
Yes, that's
just
true.
having
That's
one or
true.
two people, other towns in the area, I can finally say, see, everybody else is going to have to do it. 'Cause
Yes.
they, that's the thing they're focusing on. So we
Yep.
talked about water, we talked about infrastructure. So we just recently had our meeting about the sewers you and I have been talking about.
That's right. That's
So-
been a big deal for you. Since
Big,
you've been
it's been a
chairman.
very big deal for me. We
Yep.
had our meeting.
And Randy, of course,
Yep.
bringing up the fact that
it doesn't pay for itself.
and it's very unsustainable the way that it is currently, and very responsibly had extensive information for the select
Yes.
board to
Yep.
to digest and to try to make the best decisions that you can.
I mean, me and you talked about it extensively because you and Hardwick dealt with. It's hard to believe Hardwick actually had a sewer system.
Oh, I could go on for hours,
But I know you had to.
Giants sewer
Lost the
system.
grant either prior to you getting there, I think it was.
The day before I started, it was
It was a big
deobligated.
20 million that was going to
30,
help
yep,
you build your
$30 million.
filtration plant.
Yeah.
But you got it back. So I
did.
said, ooh, Nicole knows what she's doing on septic and sewer. And one of the things that's been going on, literally my first day as a select board member, on the board, I remember saying to Russ Fox, they're like, oh, we got to talk about raising the sewer rates. I had to, on my first day, it was either the first or second thing I did, talk about raising sewer rates. And I literally took them and said, I go, you're going to make me raise rates on my first day. And he's like, yep. So I've been dealing with that from the beginning. When I went out on my very first road tour, originally when the sewer system was put in, it was more to protect the lakes. I wouldn't say more, but that was the focus of the area when it first came in. The first go around, as you know, Nicole knows all about it. USDA, there was grants, basically pretty much that entire project for not entire, but a large portion of it was funded by the federal grants. People that had to hook up on phase one, it was taken care of for them. And unfortunately, one of the biggest things that's happening now is, we have areas in town that have been septic and they're starting to fail, and they're accessible, but it's a cost thing. And the one thing I don't want to do, is one thing I've tried to do from the beginning is find ways to save the residents money or not spend money that we have to keep the services and stuff that we give them in place. And the sewer has been a focus of mine pretty much since I got on. When this was first put together, there's a stretch that goes down Point Grove Road. It was originally discussed about hooking Suffield in around the lake. They're a different state, different regulations, different environmental protection agencies on their side. So it didn't happen. I mean, I have a very good, as chairman now, I've opened up a very good line of communication with First Selectman Colin Mall. We're dealing with some stuff as far as our lake permitting process. We're trying to get that hammered out. We're getting closer on that one. But with the sewer, from the get-go, we talked about it at the sewer meeting, the subsidy. A lot of people, and Diane and I philosophically disagree on this one. Even I actually disagree with her and Doug on it. My intent is that subsidy for everybody else. We raised it a little bit, which my intent was to either not raise it or have it go down. But if you use it, you pay for it. But we also don't want to, again, drive people out of their homes or
No, of course not. And it's sort of an environmental thing too with having septics. However, in rural areas, it's what's most accepted is the septic, and then to have a public utility and to bring it into the more urban areas or the more downtown areas is really what the environmental agencies want. They want to see these going and not just having septics in every single yard. So every time that we can, again, like open up a road and either add the sewer or update it is what, trying to be in compliance with our environmental laws as well. So, it's sometimes the lesser of two evils, however a resident will look at it, whether or not they have to deal with their own septic or they have to pay for the public utility. And then again, like you said, the subsidy that the town pays, because the sewer is not an enterprise fund, which is just self-sustaining completely, that, the town does give a subsidy. And just like anything else, if you don't have kids in the school, you're still paying for the schools. Your taxes, your tax dollars go to the community that you live in, and it may not always be exactly the service that you yourself are getting, but as a community as a whole, this is where you want to live. Then this is part
and
of it.
As I said that night, my intent, there's never going to be that I see a point where there's not going to be some sort of subsidy. Right now, I mean.
The sewer system is just too small.
It's too small.
Yeah, it's just
the
too
amount
small
of people
for
we can add on to it.
To give it to the own users, it's too small.
So we're looking at some different aspects, some areas that we can tie in. I've asked Randy to talk with Westfield. We've got a stretch that's on 10 and 202 that could be utilized that would bring on several, quite a few hookups that would help with that. But it's like anything else, the wheels of government, as we know, don't turn exactly the fastest. And
It's methodical.
yes, yes.
Be responsible. Take our time. Make sure we're doing everything right.
But so, like I want a lot of people, I've got messages and calls and emails right at, so I hear my taxes are going up 8%. Well, your taxes can only go up 2.5% unless you have a 2.5 override that the town has to vote on. So percentage-wise, no, they're not going up 8%. The sewer rates, 36% looks like a big number, and it's not by any means a small number. But when you look at it, like I tried to explain to I think it's $4. I don't even think it was that much. I think it would have been $4 if we went with my 50%. So I think it's in the realm of like $3 or $4 per 1,000 gallons. And as I said, and Doug made a very valid point, it's damned if you do and damned if you don't. I asked you to look into programs like they have for Eversource, where they have these programs where they can come in and make your house more energy efficient. And I recommended us looking into programs that, if there's anything regarding as far as environmental with the water, where we can find programs where we can go to the residents and say, hey, we can get your faucets, we can get your sewers,
Right.
and
For more conservation
showers
of the water,
But again, as Doug pointed out, that's a double-edged sword too, because if your less flow is coming in, you have less money coming in. So it's tough. Where do you find that balance point? I think where we're at now down the road, I would prefer to see that subsidy. I know we're gonna reevaluate it every year now, and I know where I'm gonna stand on it. I mean, my opinion is pretty much, Doug and Diane had, God bless Doug, because he came up with a solution that, like he said, he likes to come up with a consensus. Our board is we don't have consensus all the time,
That's good.
One of the things I heard when I first got on is, it was funny, I believe it was my first or second meeting again, I was, for the first time in, I think, Peter Courier, who was with Westfield News at the time, it was a story because I voted no and there was not a unanimous vote. And I was like, wow. He's like, you realize that's like the first non-unanimous vote in I think he said 10 years. I'm like, and he's like, and that's a story. I'm like, why? I'm like, but, so, Doug came up with a consensus and because, Karen DeMayo from finance, she was on it. I mean, she was really hammering home, explained to me why it's this and why the rest of us should pay it. And as I said, I didn't have any intent of going in there saying we're not going to contribute as a town. Like, as you said, this is our town with the schools, so on and so forth. You have to expect to pay something to keep those services, keep your infrastructure in place, and
keep the community the way you want it,
And to keep the community a community, because you also don't want to drive that wedge where, well, thanks a lot, I'm paying for you type thing.
No, you want to have.
But so we're there with the septic, or I keep saying septic, sewer. Let's see, where else do we got to go here? So pickleball.
Pickleball was voted in last year at the last town meeting.
Actually saw kids playing it, and it was coming in.
So to have two at town hall for the senior center, and 4 at Wally Park, and our building and ground supervisor, who is our former fire chief, Russ Anderson, who's doing a phenomenal job, has really put the work in to get the quotes and
he is dug and spent a lot of time.
Yeah, to get it accomplished, and I believe it most of it's going to happen this year. The only thing is, all the line painting and et cetera, they're all busy until next summer. So
I did see
the contractors is really what's holding it up for town hall.
When I came in yesterday to stop by, I don't even remember why now. It's probably to sign something. Russ was out there, and I said, I'd again pay attention to I may not watch every minute of a meeting, but the things that are on the agenda, I try and make sure I know what's going on. And because there was a push at one point to put all 6 at Wally. Well, the Council on Aging, the seniors, they're the ones that initiated this whole pickleball process.
Right.
And, we had a meeting, Park and Rec, I was there. Some people felt, well, let's put them all at Wally because it's easier. And like I said, well, the seniors pushed this forward. The seniors, to me, it wasn't fair to take away what we, as a town, had voted to say the seniors are going to get those 2 courts. Fortunately, like you said, and we said, Russ did, amazing work. He went and did his own research and his own investigation and came up with different options that would fall within the budget, because some of them options that were originally out there that were basically the cost to build it were going to be a little over our budgets.
Yeah.
But he found enough to put that in place, and I asked him yesterday. He said, so it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, Nicole, the way it was explained to me is our current basketball court is now going to become part of our parking lot, is what I'm what I'm hearing.
I don't know exactly what the future is for that. I know that it's going to be multi-use courts, which is allowed under the vote of the town meeting. So, I honestly don't know exactly what's going on in the back. I just know.
Well, maybe I got a little bit of pre-information. So he told me as I asked, because one of the proposals was to come in with either the epoxy or the asphalt, completely overlay the basketball court, because it's getting older. I mean, it's got some cracks and whatnot in it. And we also use it for overflow parking, so that beats it up more when it's not designed that way. And but Russ explained to me yesterday, the basketball court, with the multi-use, it's going to be the 2 pickleball courts, as well as possibly shuffleboard's going to be included in there, and a half court. So
I think that, all the markings will be there. Practically every night when I leave, I see some kids out there playing basketball. So we didn't want to lose that.
Yep.
So that was, I think part of the whole multi-use. But he presented all of the different options to the Park and Rec to make sure that they're on board for what they did go to CPC and for the town meeting to get approved, and they gave their blessing. They're 100% on board with having them at town hall. So it worked out for everybody. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So speaking of sports, this Saturday.
Oh, yes.
Have a game.
Yep.
Where
Mr. Moglen would be very mad if I forgot this.
Yes.
We have our annual Westfield, oh my gosh, now he's going to be even more mad. Our annual Southwick Fire versus Southwick PD softball game. I believe
it's Saturday at 11. What? This is not it.
The funding, I forget. This year it's going to I'm going to see the charity.
Muscular dystrophy, maybe. I should have looked that up. It's always a charity, right?
Yes,
and they choose a different charity. It's this Saturday at 11 o'clock.
Go PD.
At the Wally Park, where it's fun.
But
for
if Fire
everybody,
wins, I won't complain either.
No, it's friendly competition here. I was asked to do this ceremonial
first pitch.
Oh. So hopefully it goes over the plate, and hopefully nobody hits it, because you'll hit me in the face. I was in a pitcher. I was on shortstop. So.
Oh, we were a softball player?
Yeah.
Ah.
So anyways, yeah. So that's this Saturday. Hopefully everybody can come out. There's food trucks, and it's going to be a great time. And of course, supporting a great cause. So that is, again, this Saturday at 11 o'clock.
Yes. Let's see. What else do we got? See, you thought we weren't going to be able to tie up all this time. We got 10 minutes.
Well, it's an hour. So again, I don't know if I said it last time in my last town before, actually, even, there was a town manager segment. So every Thursday, one of 4 towns would have a 10-minute segment where we just talk about what's going on in the town. And then it was an hour here, and I thought, an hour might be a little bit harder.
That's exactly what I said to Peter like he said, when I came in here that first day, and I mentioned to you before we started, I'm like, how am I going to talk about myself for an hour? But next thing you know, Peter, he's like, see, hour's up, and you were still talking. So.
Well, and I guess for the most part, I just wanted to let everybody know, we can convey to everybody, how the town is doing, and the changes and the new departments. And when you come in, there's some have gone from one side of the building to the other.
Mm-hmm. Just ask, and we'll tell you where it is.
Yep. There's lots of signs too, and just ask. There's plenty of staff around. And even this Thursday is the Senior Sizzler at Wally Park, so the annual senior picnic. is this Thursday, and Lisa will be there. Nadine, the assistant CAO, is going to be helping serve. So that's exciting. And they also have, there's the meet the new Chief Administrative Officer on October 16th at 11:30. It's in the Southwick Senior News, and I think that they offer so much down there. So if you haven't checked it out, please do. Whether it's on our website or in person, right there at the bottom floor of Town Hall. There's always a lot going on down there.
Yep.
Yeah.
We've got, we got Lisa in place now. We had Kara, who's our Park and Rec Director, Kara Cartello. She was filling in that position. Both of them have been, with this town for quite a while now and are very well respected and appreciated. They both do great jobs down there because one of Kara's duties is still involved with the senior center.
Oh yeah, she is.
Senior
Yep, she's the
benefits coordinator. Yep.
activities coordinator. Yeah.
So
Yep.
people that need things as far as that, you can talk to Kara if Lisa's not there, and if Lisa and Kara aren't around, you can always go find Nicole in her office.
Of course, absolutely. My door's always open.
So yeah, so I'm trying to think, what else can we talk about? So we got 48 minutes. We got 8 minutes left.
What happened to Pete? Did we lose him?
No, he's there. I know he's there. So he's
Multitasking. I'm multitasking.
He's used to usually having to contribute because I usually like to come here and talk all alone by myself, because it's it's tough. I've had numerous times where I've had people lined up and then the last minute they have to cancel. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. Some people don't start their days right away. For me, usually, when I'm not out of work injured, 9 times out of 10, I'm coming from 3 streets over to, with, bigger bags under my eyes, saying, "All right, Pete, here I am." So let's see. Another thing you and I have talked about. I'll touch on it quick since we're running out of time. A full-time planner and economic development coordinator.
Yes, that is a goal. There's a part-time planner now, and and when I came in,
Who unfortunately is going to most likely. Have we made that decision?
Not quite,
officially,
but
he may
the
be
applications
moving
that
into
have
another.
come in, he has been the strongest. So
Yes.
our current part-time planner and stormwater coordinator is going to probably be the new assistant DPW director.
Mm-hmm.
So then there'll be that vacancy, and
Yet another.
Yet another
one.
And Nadine, our assistant CAO, has done a fantastic job as HR.
Yes.
Recruiting everybody or promoting people. It's been great. But when I come in and I see that the town has started a land trust, and that there is some there was major opposition as we all know, from the Carvana
You're not
issue.
supposed to say that word.
It is what it is. It's part of it. It's part of how we grow and learn. And so there's a lot of residents that want to preserve the open space, people that want responsible growth, and to be able to be a viable, financially stable community. You need both. You need the growth. You grow or you die. So
Balance,
to have a full-time planner to assist the planning board with smart zoning is so important. It's really what will help drive the town. When you go through the master plan and the
Planning board's
OSRP.
doing a wholesale review of all our zoning now.
Zoning, yep, that's gonna, and that's what's just important. It's important to have smart zoning. So to have a full-time planner and economic development director would be phenomenal for the town. So that's something that I have not submitted to the select board yet.
as
I
you
have
and I
things
spoke,
to do, so before that comes before you guys, but we're
When I
definitely
first
looking
got
forward
on,
to
I
doing
asked
that.
Carl, I'm like, well, who, for lack of a better term, shops the town around? And he's like, well, you can do it. And I'm like, has anybody, because I actually mentioned at the beginning of my term, I mentioned here in Westfield where they had the planning and economic development coordinator. And I said, well, I've always been about, when I ran the balance, people always say, well, we want to preserve, you can only preserve so much, and people, then your taxes are going to have to, the money has to come from somewhere, and the one thing I want to do, as I've said all along, is either A, not cause the residents to have to spend more money, or B, find a way to get more money back into their hands. And I literally started off when I first got on. I started reaching out because there's a couple of commercial parcels, and there's a couple parcels that are already somewhat developed that could sustain and handle another business. And I actually had reached out at one point to Harbor Freight, and they were interested in coming to town. They at least take a look, and that was always been important to me because we've got my envisioning has always been from the Westfield line all the way down 10 and 202 to I always still want to call it the Ames Plaza, the Ocean State Job Lot, and Big Y. That's our commercial retail business.
It is.
That's where
along College Highway.
I'm all for preserving what we can out in the farm and more rural areas of town, but we've got to take advantage of that which we have. And fortunately, with the cannabis, we're going to have 2 cannabis retailers as long as everything goes through and the HCA's work and we get our stuff back from our town council. We can move forward with that. The Old Family Dollar is going to be there, converted into one of those, and there's a couple other parcels that were cannabis. Some of the other proposed location retailers were going to go. So there's a couple lots across the street. I really want to bring responsible / balanced growth to the town.
Yep.
Because.
And historically, I think the town has done really well with that. Really well with the balance. And so again, to want and have a rural community and want to keep it that way, and to have responsible growth. I feel like Southwick has done a phenomenal job at really maintaining that balance, and just bringing it forward and modernized, and keep it going like that. I think the town is set to do great things. I really do. Yeah.
Yes. Well, it's like in a way too. It's been having your. It's a little different because it was an outside perspective coming in, and
and that's not to keep talking about myself.
Well, I think
that was the last job as well. Is let's not have somebody from inside. Let's have some outside eyes coming in. So
sometimes the fresh set of eyes, and that's
of outside. Did you go to the Biggie?
Not yet.
Have you gone? I went last night. I'm kind of tired. We got home late.
Did you go get some moo nuts?
I didn't. I did see Mr. Didi though
Did
when
you?
my kids were going down the yellow slide. He's right across from it.
Oh, is he?
His dessert won, by the way, best sweet at the Big E.
That's fantastic.
Is it
The new corn thing.
Is cornbread sundae, right?
Yes.
Yep. My wife is.
He posted this morning and won the best sweet in the competition.
Yes. Well, that's
It wasn't
good.
even too busy. It wasn't that
That's
bad
what
last
everybody's.
night.
I guess they surpassed their one-day record ever. I think it was Sunday or Saturday.
Yeah, the weekend.
It's been great weather for this first week of it. My intent is to get there either today or tomorrow because Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I've always been that way. Whether I go skiing, whether I go to an amusement park, it's like I want to go when less people are there.
Well, and on the weekends, that's what happens. You're barely
you can't
walking,
even walk,
and my parents came, and my father's in a wheelchair, so trying to navigate it is difficult.
I
So
can
it's
And that's a wrap. Because Mark's show is an hour, so you guys are over.
See, and like I said, we thought we couldn't do it. So, not that we couldn't do it, but how were we going to do it? See, Nicole, so now you got maybe.
well, thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for coming, and just be prepared to come a little bit more often.
Sure.